Hi, I'm John Arana, and this is Karina San Martin.
Hey, everybody.
And we are here once again at the drop,
Yes.
dropping truth and bringing life. So we just want to encourage you today. We're talking about Psalm 23rd because it's a worldwide known famous psalm, and there's a lot of reasons why, because it's got so much stuff in there, and it's telling us how God is, how good He is, and we just talk a little bit about the fact that God is our shepherd. That means He is committed to taking care of us.
Looking out for
and
us.
oh my gosh, you need to go and listen or view that last
the first
episode because
last episode.
it's just amazing the level of commitment that God has towards us. And today we're going to start talking about verse 4, and it says the following. It says, even when I walk through the darkest valley, I'm not afraid because you are right beside me. And he says, your rod and your staff, they protect and comfort me. So we're just going to go ahead and start there.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
I mean, there's so many people walking around with fear today.
Yeah. Oh man.
You know,
yeah,
sometimes
I'll
I'll
a lot of reasons to have fear, to be honest.
Well, that's true.
You know what I'm saying?
It's just a crazy world going around.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, violence and wars and inflation, economy. There's a lot to be concerned about.
Yeah, there is.
No doubt. And I think that what he's saying is that even when I'm in a situation that looks dark, you know, I'm not gonna let fear control me.
Yes, that's right.
And so, you know, obviously it's gonna come up.
Right.
Fear's gonna come up.
Yes.
But I'm just not gonna let it control me.
Yeah.
Because there's some things that are important that are happening here that God gives to us.
Right.
He talks about the rod and the staff and what they do. And I think that, you know, again, God says, I know life is life and I know there's real things, but here's what I'm going to do for you.
That's right. Yeah. 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 No, definitely. And I love the resemblance of the rod and the staff, you know, because honestly, like when I was looking and into what all this, you know, meant more, you know, I always thought that the rod and the staff were like the same thing, but they're not the same thing.
No, they're not.
You know, they're two different pieces that the shepherd would hold.
That's
and so
right.
The rod was like a really sturdy stick, and it had what I saw in my research, like a big knob on top, or like a round thing on top. And that was used more for protection, like protection against other animals or things like that. And it said that some shepherds would put nails or sharp things on the top to protect, you know, and
that
then,
was like a weapon.
And then the staff was more for the shepherd as he was walking, but he would use to also guide the sheep. Tap the sheep. So one was like more like a weapon of protection and strength, and the other one was more like for the shepherd to lean on, but also to help, you know, guide the sheep. And so
that's right.
I think that's super cool that, you know, that the Lord is even saying, like, I have the tools.
I've given you the tools.
You know, that are going to protect you and guide you.
That's
because it says your rod and your staff protect and comfort me.
That's right. One of the other things that I dug up years ago, and I've even done a teaching series on it about the staff.
Yeah, this is very cool.
Which is kind of interesting because the shepherds of the old days, they didn't have, you know, a lot of things to write things down, journals and things like that. But they would use their staff as their journal, and then they would carve on their staff from the bottom up. You know, different significant events in their lives. And so, you know, when David picked up his staff, you know, it's symbolic that, hey, I'm picking up my history with God. You know, I have a history of God, and God has a history with me. And so, you know, when he's saying, that's you know, your rod and your staff, I like what you were saying, and he's, you know, when we get this, when we pick up our staff, we're sort of saying, I know what you've done in the past. I know you could do it again.
It's like those reminders. Like that you're holding on to. You know, because the shepherd would hold on to the staff.
Right.
You know, and they would keep it with them, and it's almost like that you're holding on to what the Lord has done in your life.
Yeah,
you know,
and you're not going to forget.
Right, the good thing. And it's almost like a sense of empowerment.
Yes.
You know, it's like, you know, when we can keep the things in front of us that God has already done.
Exactly.
It's like when we're facing, you know, and all of this is coming after he's talking about going through the dark valleys.
Exactly.
You know, so to me, it really applies very strongly to like when we're going through something.
Yeah.
You know, that dark valley that it's like, oh, okay, I'm walking through this dark valley, but look, I can see right here the last dark valley that I went through.
Yeah.
And the Lord was with me, and this is how he did it, and this is what happened. So this is a different one.
Yeah.
But I know that he's going to be with me.
That's right.
You know, and I'm going to get through this. And so I think that's a really strong sense of empowerment for us.
Definitely.
To remember the Lord, remember his works, to remember what he's done.
Yeah.
To keep us going.
I know in a lot of Catholic literature and even some psychological, spiritual literature, they talk about the dark night of the soul, you know? And so there's even books about it, you know, the dark night of the soul. And so it's talking about a season in your life when you have done all the right things, but you're still have no sense of life. And nothing seems clear, and everything seems confusing. And you begin to have like this hopelessness about your life and so on and so forth. So they call that the dark night of the soul.
It's a good name for that.
And and I think, you know, when you get to that dark night of the soul, man, it's so good to know that you have a history with God.
Oh man, yeah.
And that God has been real in your life because you can pull from that, you know, and at least sustain your journey and not be completely paralyzed.
Yeah, totally.
You know?
Totally. And I think, you know, practically thinking about, you know, how can we do this so that it actually affects our lives every day, you know, like I think it would be really cool to like sit down and write down some of those things that the Lord has brought me through, or, you know, or that the Lord has brought you through. For those of you who are listening and watching, you know, because sometimes it is easy to forget.
Oh, I would encourage people to sit down and write a list.
To write, like, you know, that list. And I'm sure the older we are, the bigger our list gets, you know. But even if you just say like this year,
the more help we needed.
Yeah, the more help we have needed, you know. But even if you just say like, man, this year already, look at what God's brought me through.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and to keep it in front of you, because I think that also like reminds us that yes, God is working in my life.
Absolutely.
God is doing things. And even if, like you were saying, like you're in this moment where you're like, okay, I've done everything right, but I still feel like things aren't going the way they should.
Yeah.
You still have that reference of like, okay, but look what God has done.
That's right.
You know, and if the word says that he is my shepherd, I have all that I need, then it's coming. You know, it's coming my way. It's coming my way.
I love the last part of it because it says it protects and comforts me.
That's right. Yeah.
And I think when
really
when you're going through the dark valley,
man,
there's all kinds of crazy imaginations.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of fears, and there's all kinds of shadows of wrong, and you know, you could drive yourself crazy thinking about all the stuff that could happen to you, and the fear and the doubt, and it says, hey,
that's good.
His rod and his staff, they're going to protect me and they're going to comfort me.
And bring
in
me
other
that
words,
comfort.
It'll help me to stay steady.
Yeah, that's good.
In spite of all the fear, in spite of all the, you know, craziness, at least I'm protected from going insane and doing something, you know, that I shouldn't be doing, and at least it gives me some protection, you know, so it kind of brings some boundaries to my life so that even though I might not see what's ahead of me, at least I know I'm going to stay my course.
That's right, yeah. And I think that's really key in reminding ourselves, you know, that we have that comfort, that we have that protection of God, that he, like it says there in the scripture, verse 4, you know, because I won't be afraid because you're close beside me. You're close beside me. And so
that's good.
having that closeness and reassuring ourselves of that closeness, you know, and I love to, this is one of my like favorite scriptures because it's so deep to me, because it's like, at first it says, even when I walk through the darkest valley, you know, it doesn't say that he's pulling me through it. It doesn't say that he's forcing me through it. It's like, I have made the choice to walk through this valley. But then it says, I don't have to be afraid because you're close beside me. You know, like he's right there beside me. And so I think when we forget that he's close, we set our eyes on the fear. And then, like you were saying, it's like all this chaos begins to unfold.
Craziness,
because fear is usually just a big phantom of things that aren't even real.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And so the protection, the comfort, the strength that comes with that, like, visual for me of those rods and that staff, it to me is so cool that the Lord is saying, you know, I am there. I am present.
I'm not going to leave you or forget you.
Exactly.
I love the next verse because
this is a good one.
In the midst of the dark valley, he's saying, don't worry because you prepare a feast for me in the presence of my enemies. And you honor me by anointing my head with oil, and my cup overflows with blessings. And I think there's a lot of symbolism there. But basically to keep it straight up, he's saying, look, I might feel like I'm in the darkest moment, and fears and vain imaginations and things are trying to pull me down. But even in the presence of all those things, even in the presence of the fear and the insecurities and the doubts, look what he's doing. He's preparing a feast for me in the presence of my enemies. In other words, he's saying, your enemies might not leave immediately, but look what I'm doing. Really, even when they're there, I'm still working. I'm still working for you because I am preparing you for something that not even your enemies are going to be able to take away from you.
That's so good.
And he says, you honor me. You know, so God is saying, you know, there's going to be times when you're going to be afraid. There's going to be times where you're thinking you're not going to make it. Or life is just coming to a close, or everything is crumbling. But don't worry. Don't worry, because I'm still at work.
Yes, exactly. And I think it's super cool that, you know, the wordage here, to me, again, this psalm is like so specific, but it says, you prepare a feast for me. And, you know, to me, a feast is like, that's a lot of food. It's like, you know, like it's not
more than what you need.
Yes, exactly.
For sure.
Exactly my point. It's not like, you know, oh, here's like
just enough.
Here's a PBJ with a glass of milk. You know what I mean? It's like, no, here's the PBJ, here's the chicken, here's the barbecue, here's the feast. All that stuff does not go together. But
it's all right.
It's like the feast,
it's all of it.
It's like this thing that is saying that you literally are going to have more than what you need. And I'm giving you more than what you need. In the midst, like you were saying, of the enemies that you're facing, that you're dealing with. I'm not going to, you know, wait until you have it all done to take care of you. Because to me, also, a feast is representing nourishment. You know, you have to eat, you know, you need food, you need this nourishment. So it's like he's saying, you know, I will continue to give you what you need. And the feast is saying, you're going to have more than what you need to continue facing those enemies, dealing with those enemies.
I think it's funny because, you know, when you're in the dark valley, you know, you think that you're not going to make it. And it's funny.
It seems so bleak.
Because such contrast between, I don't think I'm going to make it, and God says, well, wait a minute, there's a feast coming. You know, you're thinking I might not make it, and God says you're going to have abundance. You know, and that's why fear comes to steal.
That's right.
Fear comes to steal, and the way it steals is by making us quit. You know, because even in the midst of your fear, God is saying, the way I am is I'm working for a big feast.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm getting you ready for a big feast.
Yeah.
So don't worry about it. Hang in there because the season's going to change.
Yeah.
And so I think that, you know, when fear comes, it's almost like God's preparing a feast.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
And I think it's really cool that it says, you know, it says you prepare. You know, David's talking about God. That God is the one doing it, who's preparing this feast for me. And you know, and when I correlate that to like the role of the shepherd, you know, like it is the shepherd's job to know where the food is, to know where to take the sheep, to know how to get them there, to know all the preparations that are needed so that the flock can be exactly where it needs to be, protected, safe, and getting all the nourishment, you know. So it's like, I'm doing my part by walking through the valley, but the Lord is doing his part by preparing for me more than what I need to conquer those enemies.
And I love that it says you honor me by anointing my head with oil. In other words, you know, yes, I'm walking through a rough season in my life, a dark valley, you know, but I'm walking through it. I might be crawling, but I'm going forward, you know. And God says, because you're doing that and that shows your faith in me, I'm going to honor you for that. And so I always tell people, listen, things are tough and you don't know what's going to happen. Just honor God, and God's going to honor you.
Yeah, you do say that a lot.
And I do, right?
Yeah. I've heard it many times.
Many times. And so then it says, my cup overflows with blessing. In other words, this is how the story goes.
Yeah, it's like showing this,
you know, like, progression.
You know, like now the blessings are
gonna flow.
Are coming, you know, because I've done my part, but I've also, I think it's also allowing the Lord to shepherd us.
Yeah. That's right.
You know,
that's
allowing his rod and staff, which is protection, which is correction.
Yeah.
You know, if the sheep were going the wrong way, he would take the staff.
The staff.
And he, you know,
just tap it.
You know, okay, you got to come back over here.
Exactly.
You know, and it's like when we submit ourselves to being shepherded by him. Then down here in this verse, you know, 5 and 6, it's like that's when the feast comes. That's when the anointing comes. That's when our cup overflows with blessings. And the next one says, surely your goodness and unfailing love will pursue me all the days of my life, and I will live in the house of the Lord forever. You know, to me, it's like that's like the ultimate.
Oh my gosh.
I just want to be with you forever, you
Everything's
know?
Gonna be
like,
good.
Yeah,
everything's going to be good.
But then it's like saying also that he pursues us. His love
pursues
and goodness is pursuing me all the days of my life.
I know. It's
amazing.
And it kind of brings a thought to mind that, you know, every dream will be tested. You know, every vision will be tested. And that's the season of the valley, of the darkest valley. The dark, you know, walking through that dark valley where you're going like, man, you know, what's happening? Things are not working, you know, and God is saying, just hang in there, man. Don't worry about it. Hang in there. Hang in there. Hang in there. Because as you hang in there is an act of trust. It's an act of faith in God.
Definitely.
And then he's saying, while you're hanging in there and you're fighting all these thoughts, guess what I'm doing? I'm preparing a feast for you. And it's going to happen. And that's how God will honor us.
That's right.
And then, gosh, surely
the blessings
your
are
goodness,
overflowing and the goodness and unfailing love pursues me. And I think that for me, what this like whole psalm like speaks to me personally is saying the Lord's role in my life never changes. He's always there to shepherd me.
Yeah, that's right.
But I think that what changes sometimes is if I honor his role in my life, if I honor that shepherd role, and I say, okay, yes, Lord, I'm going to allow you to shepherd me. And even though maybe I see this like thing over here that looks
sure.
green.
Yeah.
You might be saying, we're not going there yet.
Right.
You know, we're going to come over here to this stream first.
Right.
And this pasture first.
Right.
And then maybe over there. But, you know, to allow him to shepherd us. And then these things flow, these things follow when we submit to the leading, the guiding, the protecting, the comfort, you know, then all these amazing things come.
And I think that there's certain things that God can do in us when we're in the darkest valley.
Oh, for sure.
That we're not in a position to receive when we're in the
green valley,
in
the
green
pasture.
Valleys and resting and everything.
No, there's in dark valleys. My gosh, I think that's when the deepest formations are formed.
Yes,
you know what
exactly
I mean? Because like, you're in a very deep place, you know. It's a deep bad place or a hard place.
The dark night of the soul.
It's like the times in your life where I think maybe some of the biggest scars are made, but then the biggest healing comes.
Sure, exactly.
Because of you know, the whole process of it all.
And so so God's saying, hey, you know, I gotta let you walk through that too.
Yeah, there's purpose in that.
That doesn't mean I've forgotten you.
That's right.
In fact, while you're walking through there, I'm preparing the feast. You know, and so God is so good, and we just want to encourage you to trust Him. We just want to encourage you, if you need to, read that Psalm every day.
Yeah, Psalm 23.
You know, and just saturate your heart and your mind with the goodness of God, because God is a good God.
Yeah, He is.
He wants to do you good. He wants to do you right, and sometimes we just get in the way.
Yeah, I mean,
but He wants good for you.
That's right.
And so we just want to encourage you to trust Him, and we just want to encourage you to believe Him.
That's right.
And because God is a good God.
That's right. He is. Yep. So make sure you like and subscribe, share this episode with a friend, and maybe just tell them, hey, man, I just want to encourage you today and remind you that God is looking out for you. And this is a great episode to just shine some bright light in someone's day this week. So we'll see you guys here next week. Same time, same place.
At the drop.
Have a great week.